New today, Florida halts its controversial efforts to purge voter lists for the November presidential election. County election officials say the program was dropped ineligible wanted to drop ineligible voters. It has been stopped because the state's list of suspected non-citizens is outdated and inaccurate. And just yesterday, the American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit against Florida over this purge. Now, we reached out to Florida's Governor Rick Scott, State Attorney General Pam Bondi, but neither one was available. The governor's office directed us to a page on state website fl.gov for answers to some most commonly asked questions. Joining me now, Leila McDowell of the Advancement Project. Leila, welcome.
Thank you.
Where are we now in this situation? Is this over?
No, unfortunately, it's not over. Governor Scott has said that he is going to continue to try to undermine our democracy by disenfranchising American voters. And when we look at these purges, it's very clear who they're targeting. The Miami Herald reported that you are least likely to be on the list if you're white and if you're Republican. 61% of the people on the list were Hispanic, 87% people of color, and the rest, the majority, were registered Democrats, like Bill Intranicola, who's this 91-year-old World War II veteran who fought for our country, has been voting for about 50 years, and will be told, and it was being told, that he is not going to be able to vote unless he finds some citizenship papers, goes to the supervisor of elections, and proves that he's a citizen. That's what these purges were doing.
Now, Leila, here's some interesting numbers involved I want to look at as well. Florida officials identified 180,000 voters who might not be citizens. They sent 2,700 names to be investigated, but only 40 were identified as non-citizens. So was this kind of a pointless exercise?
Well, it's not only pointless, but it's part of a national effort to try to rig elections by disenfranchising voters, by undermining the fundamental pillar of our democracy. Florida did this before in 2000, where they used lists of people who were allegedly convicted of felonies. They ended up disenfranchising thousands of legitimate voters, mostly African American that time. And if you look at the margin of victory between Bush and Gore in 2000, it was 537 votes. So when you can slice off, a significant portion of the other side's electorate, you can rig an election, you can win an election, but you're winning it unfairly. And it's antithetical to our basic values. So we're seeing this happening through purges, through voter suppression laws all across the country.
Well, and in fact, the state of Florida pursued this voter purge despite the objections from the Department of Justice. So these counties are legally required to give voters 90 days to prove their citizenship before they're able to remove them from the rolls. So are Florida officials violating that law?
They're violating a federal law that says you can't do purges, not just for citizenship, for anything. You can't do purges of voter rolls within 90 days of an election. And the reason for that is because it creates chaos, it creates intimidation, and a lot of mistakes are inevitably made. So why the rush to start the purges right before the elections? If you want to clean up the list, we want lists to have integrity and to be accurate, but that should happen long before 90 days before an election.